Hello there. Sorry for holding the mic. I don't have the microphone arm or holder, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, this is only to document my attempt at learning something new. Um, I'm no expert in IT. I'm no expert in tech or cloud. I'm no expert in teaching. I should be. That's a long story, but I will probably get into that in the future. So what I'm trying to do is get the AWS certified AI practitioner. I already have the cloud practitioner. I think I did it 2 years ago or something like that. I want to shift. I want to move into the tech industry. And since I'm on a career break, I thought I could just take the time to learn something new and to try new systems, new approach to learning. I'm awful at learning and then studying. I read something and I forget it in 10 seconds or even less sometimes. So the only way that I found learning easy or at least practical is when I'm actively engaged in the conversation. So if I'm asking questions, if I'm thinking of potential I don't know, real life cases, stuff like that, right? So I thought ChatGPT can be really useful at this, and if I engage with ChatGPT in a way that somehow it helps me, um, you know, work on whatever I've read, whatever I'm trying to learn, and kind of like apply it in a real case scenario, or just by having it asking questions about the topics, this will probably make it easier for me to remember stuff, um, and to actually not only have the knowledge to pass the exam, but also to remember useful stuff that potentially could be used in the future professionally, potentially, right? So yeah, what I did, as you probably know, AWS has all these exam guides or guidelines. It's very useful because you go through these documents and you have a general idea of what the document looks like. I'm sorry, what the exam looks like, the type of the structure of the exam. Um, well, yeah, extra stuff like the target candidate description, blah blah blah. Most importantly, you have exam content, which is both the type of questions that you get, but also the content outline, which is what I focus mostly on during this learning session. Um, you have different domains, different task statements, as it calls, as the document said, like 1.1, explain basic AI concepts and terminologies. Task statement 2, 1.2, 1.3, blah, 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 etc., right? So technically speaking, if you have an idea, a general idea of all the domains here, and you know how to answer these questions, I think you're good to go, right? Um, Hopefully. So what I did is I uploaded this PDF in ChatGPT. I didn't prepare ChatGPT for whatever comes next. ChatGPT knew I wanted to tackle this certification, so he already knew that I was planning on studying it. But I didn't go like, I'm gonna study like this. Give me questions, etc., etc. So I just let it, cook, as they say. And this is what it came up with. I want to share it with I don't know, Mike of the future or anyone else who might be interested. Um, so yeah, the first one, I just copy paste the domain one list. This is incomplete. This was like only a partial copy paste, so I just put it again. And the copy paste just lists the scopes, right? The topics of the domain one task statement 1.1. So what ChatGPT gave me is basic AI terms and definitions, which I loved because are very simple definitions and easy to remember somehow. Um, and then we just went through other concepts, right? So what I did was going one by one, and try to memorize each term and definition. Now, this is how I would do it. Okay, artificial intelligence, AI, I would read it. Do I understand it? Probably yes. A broad field of computing that enables machines to simulate human intelligence. Now, I would try to memorize the concept and repeat it. I know, it's memory, but you have it in your head somehow. And if you can recite it, if you can, repeat the words, it's very likely that. Sorry about that. I have limited time with Loom. Still using the free version. I don't have the money to pay for the upgrade now. But So this is what happened. I would just go and try to memorize one by one the definitions. How would I do that? I would first remember the first one and try to recall it, just on the spot. If I thought I had a general idea, or I could be potentially able to repeat it again and recall it again in the future, I will move to the next one, right? And I move to the next one. I try to understand it. Probably I do okay. I try to recall the information again by heart so that I don't read it. I just have it in my head. I go back to the first one, I recall the first one, then I recall the second one again, and then I move to the third one. So if I actually get right the first one, the second one, the third one, you just go back every time and you are reinforcing somehow. I feel like this works. There's an overlapping in the process in how models actually are trained. So this is interestingly enough. Anyway, so one by one you go to the next one, and then at the end, of course, when you start, you only have a few things to remember, so it's easier. But at the end, you have like the whole list that you have to go through in your head, and of course, you're going to make mistakes. You won't remember it on the spot. So probably just go back to the list, try to remember maybe that word or that specific concept that you couldn't quite, grasp or repeat. And then at the end, I would say I was decently satisfied by how quickly I was able to go through all the whole list, and just recall. If not word by word, at least I had I know what it talks, what it means, right? And I can somehow explain it. Okay. And I would do this also. This was easier because it's a list, simple terms, not simple, but I mean just terms and simple definitions. 1-2 sentences maximum per definition per term. And then I would move to the next ones. And some of them are easier. This is a table, and I will later show I had questions about this table. Of course, what I would do is I would just log my questions and keep track of my questions in the in the prompt area here. But I would not just ask it. um, I would maybe collect 5 questions and then send questions to ChatGPT to the conversation, and then I would just get uh, an idea of how it would answer those questions. But they would be genuine question. Like one of it was, I have no idea what rule based mean, right? So what does it mean when AI can be rule based? And he gave me the explanation, like rule based is basically when you can just have it's like a Excel formula, right? You have if then. If you can just quickly fix a problem with this if then it's you probably don't need to go into machine learning or deep learning. It's a very simple AI, probably very old. It's what's being used in automation, email automation, for example. If email contains the word scam, okay, you label it as scam. You flag it as scam, right? So this is a simple AI, can be rule based type of AI, right? So very simple. And I had no idea, right? So, but then he gave me this example. I was like, okay, now I remember it. It's quite easy. So collect questions. You go through the topic. You try to somehow recall the information. Kind of like you can do it by I would talk to myself. I don't know, kind of weird, but it helps when I get words out of my mouth, and I also try to associate the movements of my mouth to the concepts coming out of my head. It makes it easier for me to, or for the concept to stick inside my head, right? So I don't mind this process, to be honest. It's the first time I try. I think it's working today, at least. It was the first day. It worked quite well. I would say I'm quite satisfied. So these were some questions, many typos here. I realize I'm awful at writing. I'm too nervous and agitated when I write, so I just make mistakes. Anyway, yeah. Simple questions. It gave me this one. This is the questions I mentioned earlier. It gave me, examples, made it easier for me to understand. Supervised, unsupervised, self-supervised. One of my questions was, what is self-supervised learning compared to supervised and unsupervised? Like, is there like somehow a relation? Maybe there is an overlapping or something. I kept asking questions because if it mentions some things that you don't know, I'd rather ask questions about those things than just having it asking me questions later on. Yeah, sorry. I'd rather ask questions right at the time he mentions something then maybe later I just I avoid asking the questions, and then he asks me in a survey or in a final quiz questions related to that things that he mentioned that I don't know. So it's like being in a class, in a private tutor or something class. I don't know. So you want to have an idea, at least a general understanding. So for some of the things that I would consider important for the AI practitioner, I would ask questions. GPU, TPUs, I probably had an idea what GPU was, never heard of TPUs, for example. And yeah, so and after this, it was clear. Tensor processing units, TensorFlow. Now, I'm sorry, I'm getting agitated just by talking about this. Anyway, I know I'm taking for granted whatever ChatGPT feeds me in terms of information. I don't know if it's accurate in terms of, you know, the content or the quality of the content. Uh, I think somehow for a practitioner like a basic certification to have a general understanding of what's going on, it's enough. So I'm sure some of the things that ChatGPT says are probably not accurate, but this is an exercise for me to get into the industry, to have general understanding, to understand at least how the terms are used in some contexts. Um, if I picture myself in the future, as I don't know, as a sales manager for a cloud computing provider or AI solutions provider, I'm sure as they used to do in Amazon, they have like a more sales oriented role and a more technical oriented role, and these two roles usually work together. So I don't consider myself a technical. I would never consider myself a technical because I've never studied engineering, and I don't have that deep knowledge about the topic. So, of course, as a potential commercial role or sales role, for me, it should be more than enough to understand at least what the solutions architect and the IT director are talking about. Just to be part of the conversation. Then it's up to them to execute, to deploy, to implement the technicalities of the whole thing, right? So yeah, I'm sorry, just sharing. I kept asking questions, blah 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 blah. You mentioned also self supervised learning, blah 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 blah, and the back and forth helped a lot. Um, in the end, what happened was that I keep calling him he. I don't know why, but yeah, it. I hope it doesn't mind. Um, without autoencoders and GANs, blah blah blah. Okay, then it kind of went like, okay, let's uh, do like a quick quiz on AI fundamentals. I never asked it to do a final quiz, but this was very useful because it just gave me like a bunch of questions, multiple choice questions, um, short answer questions, and I surprisingly enough, I was very satisfied by how I was able to just I was confident in answering these questions. I don't know if it's because it's simple topic, it's a simple I mean, I'm still at the beginning, so it's very simple to grasp these concepts. I don't know if it's because of that, but I was surprised by how quickly I was able to recall the right information, the right answer, right? And in fact, even with the short answer questions or fill in the blanks, I was even the challenge bonus, which is I think this is something the association question is inside the certification like the others. So I think when I did the cloud practitioner, this was not a type of a question type. I might remember wrongly. I don't know. Anyway, I gave him the answers all together, and it went well. It went pretty well. And again, maybe some of these are not entirely accurate. I hope they are. But I was happy about how confident I was in going through the questions and just knowing the right answers, right? Because I'd been discussing with ChatGPT about these topics for 1 hour and a half or something like that. So yeah, he gave me some feedback just to maybe fix a few answers or as insights, and then he just said, "What should we do next? Should we move to 1.2 or maybe do some hands-on AWS AI services?" Blah 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 blah. Blah. Because I had because I had discussed with him already yesterday how to schedule my day. This is what I've been trying to do with ChatGPT. Like, I'm very confused and chaotic person, so I would like Chat. I know what my priorities are, and I know what I should be doing in terms of like long-term goals and mid-term goals, but I never actually execute on my plans. So I thought, what if ChatGPT just designed my daily, tasks? And I'm sure this is nothing new. I'm sure there are even apps. I think there's some calendar apps that actually do that by themselves. Anyway, I just wanted to use. I have the paid, like the membership, like whatever. It's like the pro, not the very expensive one. It's the normal tier paid service in ChatGPT. I forgot what that's called and how much it is, but I think it's like 10 to 20 euros a month or something like that. Um, so I thought I will just use ChatGPT and try to work with it a smart way to approach my day, because I'm very I'm awful at executing. I just am. I don't know. So I go through. He suggested me like, okay, 8 to 9 you do this, 9 to 10 you do this, blah 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 blah, and I'm trying to stick to it. And today was the first day I did this. So I also had like my training session and lunch, blah 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 blah. I'm also reading Case in Point to kind of like have a consulting framework, something like that, that I think could be useful in the future. For I don't know, for interviews or just job in general, right? And then after I came back, we moved into the second session. The second session of AWS was originally was originally planned to be a lab session, but then we were like me and ChatGPT, we were like, shouldn't we focus on theory first and then move to hands-on experience? So we just moved to task 1.2, and task 1.2 is about identifying practical use cases for AI, and this is what we did. So we went through, again, he went through the topics and gave me some concepts, some explanations. Again, I tried to memorize the things. Somehow the second part was easier for me to grasp. So I wasn't necessarily doing the memorize the first one, then move to the second one, recall the first one, recall the second one, move to the third one thing. I wasn't really doing that, because it was more less mnemotic, more just understanding, a more general understanding, and it went well. Again, quite easy. I think it's just because it's the beginning. Then the more you get into the details of this topic, then it can get really complicated. I watched one of the videos from what the oh my gosh, I forgot the name. Where really really cool YouTuber. He makes videos about mathematics and science, and he's really great with graphics. And he explains three blue, one brown, something like that. Three blue. I forgot the names. I know it's blue, brown, and I even know that there is an explanation for the numbers and the colors. But I suck. I really suck. I'm sorry. But yeah, great video about how neural networks work. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's complicated. Once you get into that, these are like, it's a series of 3 4 videos of, I think, 20 30 minutes each, but you get a really good understanding of how neural networks work and the complexity behind these mathematical you know systems. It's crazy. It's so fascinating to me, and I'm outside of the industry, so I don't really understand most of what's being discussed. Anyway, again, after I go through the concepts and the theory, want a quick quiz? Awesome, perfect. Yes. I had a question, so I just asked the questions again, and it gave me examples. Awesome. With the examples, I just remember more easily everything that we talk about. Mini challenge. Let's go. And it just gave me questions. I gave him answers. I think I made one mistake here. I had a doubt. I flagged it like I kind of like, I'm not sure about this one, but this was good to know, and gave me a score, and we moved to case business. Yep. So I'm sorry. I think I was talking about. Oh yeah, there was like a service matching quiz, and then after this, which also went well. We jumped into real world AI case study, which for me, someone that doesn't, unless I connect theory to reality, I'm awful at learning stuff. This was awesome because I could just link, some theoretical stuff that we have been looking at for the whole day into more practical scenarios. The first one was about a global bank uses AI to detect fraud, and he just went through the solution. I think these are very basic solutions. It's not that complicated, but you also, as a cloud practitioner holder, it was good to recall some, S3 or the SNS, what is it, or Lambda, these basic services. Here we go. Kinesis, I forgot what it was, but this was good to just have it here. And then, out of the blue, I was not expecting this. He asked me to, what it is, apply this knowledge. He just gave me this challenge, and this caught me like off guard, because I was like, oh fuck, now I have to think. Oh, sorry about that. Now I have to think about applying this knowledge. Like I should design a somehow, an architecture, a very simple architecture for this case, which was, imagine you're building an AI system for luxury e-commerce fraud detection. Which AWS AI services would you use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this was interesting because ChatGPT has memory, right? And he knows that I have background in e-commerce and a little bit of experience in luxury. I worked at Amazon for 3 years, but I was not in AWS. I was in the marketplace division. And, it knows that potentially I could leverage the past experience and this current, learning that I'm doing now in cloud or AI. So he just put the things together and asked me questions about what, somehow could overlap all these areas. I'm sorry, like, you know what I mean? And it was interesting. I gave it a very simple, I don't know, solution. It was decent, I think. I think it's too optimistic, he goes 100% spot on. I don't know. I'm not sure. Very simple. In fact, then it gives it gives you like an improved version of what you suggest. And the fact that somehow it works, it was good. It felt nice. Again, I hope somehow whatever comes out of ChatGPT is accurate. It pushes you to improve the solution, to take it further, and it provides you with some interesting insights. Like I didn't know, for example, that for frauds, there are some databases, some data sources that companies and businesses can actually leverage to either optimize their fraud systems, their anti-fraud protection system, or whatever. I'm making up words. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I know English is not my native tongue, so whatever. All these things like Federal Trade Commissions, Europol, cybercrime databases, Visa, MasterCard, anti-fraud data sets. I had no idea there was this kind of things. I haven't double checked. I could. I will, I'm sure. But for the purpose of this exercise only, of the learning process, this was more than, more than enough, I think, for what I needed today to kick off my path towards becoming a highly paid digital consultant or something, whatever. But yeah, this was fun. I always try to be nice to ChatGPT because you never know if in 10 years, I don't know, they remember their ancestors and that they were treated badly by these people, and then you're the guy that just. I've been bad to ChatGPT. I know. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes it was just being too harsh. But yeah, this is how I ended the thing. Like, all good. I think it was a great session. And maybe, tomorrow we'll keep going. Probably, as he says, we can move to task 1.3. I totally agree. Task 1.3 will be machine learning development lifecycle. Oh, exciting. And we'll see how that goes. So for now, all good. Hope you enjoyed. I did for sure. Thanks. Have a good one.